Hey guys, there you are. This is Bubba Da Vinci with Coffee with Bubba. This is our second stream where we're going to have guests. I apologize, we aren't able to do it on Thursday, but as I've been saying in the morning, unfortunately, I'm traveling tomorrow, and the time frame that I'm on a plane is when we would typically do the stream. We're pretty excited tonight. Tonight we have Billy, the Trainer Club Lutz of Pokemon Go fame, back with us to talk about nutrition, his passion. And as we discussed last Thursday when we had Billy on the show, he has a master's degree in nutrition and functional medicine. And we learned quite a bit about that being his passion and what that actually meant and some of the things that we should be looking for and observing. And one of the things I had discussed was as part of this diabetic journey I'm on, trying to get my diabetes under control by eating better foods, getting rid of the sugars and all that stuff, and just doing a better job of eating products without all the chemicals and being processed and everything else, that my supplementation is down to basically zero right now. Because most of the products that I've been finding in the market either have a lot of chemicals in them. I don't necessarily trust the things that are on the back of them, or I just can't even pronounce the things that are on the back of them. And one of the things that I'm trying to do is come up with live a healthier lifestyle, but more than anything else, find ways to help control my diabetic situation just in a healthy way. So Billy gave some suggestions. I had said that I needed, I'm right now on a liquid diet, as we've been talking about. And as I move from a liquid diet, today is my last day. Oh, that's wrong. Tomorrow's my last day on a liquid diet. And then Friday morning, I can actually start eating foods again. But I have not been supplementing with minerals or anything else. And I've been using a protein shake, but it's a pre-mixed protein shake that I don't think is the exact one that I want. It has all the right marks on the back, but again, just not a big fan or trust the product. Billy suggested that a company that he's been working with and he really likes is one called Stout Nutrition. Stout is a company based out of California. And they do multiple things. They do protein powders. They do a mineral powder. They do for your vitamins and minerals. They do quite a few different things. And Billy is actually working on them with a project of his own. So I asked, since he was working with the CEO, is if he thought he could bring the CEO of the company actually onto the show, Dan Kolano. And he said, yep, I'll set it up. And next thing I know, Dan's going to be on the show. So we'll have Dan on here in a few minutes. First, what I'm going to do, so actually the product came in and I've got it back there in the container. I did make up a shake because this is a coffee show, so I'm supposed to be drinking coffee, but I'm actually going to sample the product and drink a protein shake this evening. But I'm going to go ahead and bring in my buddy Billy so we can kind of get started on this thing. And then we'll get into the meat of it with Daniel. And then additionally, Billy has some really cool announcements tonight that we're going to make, which hopefully you guys will appreciate. So let me bring in, without further ado, Mr. Billy Lutz. Hey, Billy.
Hey, what's going on, everybody?
Yeah, how's it going? Now, you've been doing some traveling today.
Yes, sir. I have been from the West Coast to the East Coast.
Yeah, he's so you left like at 5 o'clock this morning, and you're in Florida. You're there for we're going to be doing some filming for a couple different activities we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
So how's the weather?
Going to be excited.
How's the weather? I said, how's the weather?
Oh, it's super humid. It's like 80, 86 and ultra humid, 90s in the middle of the day.
Really? That's crazy, especially since they just had Hurricane Debbie go through there. Now you're in Orlando, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Did you see it? Is there any damage? Is there any damage evident in the Orlando area from the hurricane?
I didn't see a ton. No, maybe like, the occasional, palm tree blown down just a little bit. But besides that, nothing too crazy.
Now, we're getting ready to we're going to bring Dan in here in a minute, the CEO of Oh my goodness, Stout Nutrition. And the question I have for you is, how long have you known Dan? How did you find his product? How did that end up happening?
Yeah, so I've known Dan for probably over 2 years for sure, maybe 3 years. I actually was living in Dana Point, California, and every Saturday in the morning there was a farmers market over in Dana Point, and I was living not too far from there, so I would just walk over there and kind of explore. Myself and Kiona would go over there. We'd get her some type of healthy dog treat because she would be obsessed with it, and try to figure out what's going on over there. And yeah, we bumped into Dan there, and I was, I'm always open for nutrition products, as you guys know. I'm super into nutrition, so anytime that would happen, I would see and be like, oh, new product, cool, let me learn about it. And so I started chatting with Dan, and the products that he makes are incredible. I got to know him, his manufacturing background, what he stands for, and everything like that. So it really kind of opened my eyes to his product. And then, obviously he's given out samples at the market, and then I eventually bought it and took it myself. And, I was a really big fan of that, what the quality is and everything like that. So it's been just a great experience, learning from a wealth full of knowledge from the manufacturing standpoint. I always say personally, because I did clothing manufacturing for quite a while, that, that's the best way to really start to know products, is to know people or do the things that, you would have to do in order to make that stuff happen. So, it was pretty cool to see all of that.
Well, that's right. You have a habit of doing that. I joked around with a couple. I think it was maybe my oldest daughter, might have been my youngest. That Billy collects people, and she's like, "What?" And I said, "It's like every time we go someplace, it's like, oh, I know this guy over here. Oh, you need supplements. Oh, I got a guy. You need a ride to the moon. I know a guy." It's like I haven't been any place where there hasn't been a situation that I know a guy. You don't know a guy, and so you kind of collect friends like most people collect Pokemon cards.
Yeah, it's like the more places you go, the more different industries you're in, and I feel like I've lived multiple lives already, and being around so many cool people, it's like you start to resonate at that kind of frequency, and everybody just kind of collaborates or shares their knowledge, and it's just kind of a cool situation to be in, where somebody that does something that you might need, and hopefully that I do that back for people, and everybody's in an abundant relationship where we can all help each other succeed.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and bring Dan in. I've got a ton of questions for him, and I know we want to make sure that we get to your big announcement. So what we're going to be doing is I want to introduce to you Dan Kolano. It is Kolano, right? I should have written it down someplace, but I'm 90% sure it's Kolano. He'll tell me if I'm right or wrong. The CEO of Stout Nutrition. Where's Dan? There he is.
Hello, guys.
How you doing? Oh, Daniel. Do you prefer Daniel? Dan? I'm sorry. I wrote Dan
Dan's
everywhere.
Fine. Nope, Dan's great.
Okay. I was like, oh, crap. Here I am not doing his name correctly. So, Dan, why don't you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your company?
Yes, my name's Daniel Kolano, and I've been doing, my background's manufacturing. So been doing manufacturing, I say, plus 25 years maybe. Mm-hmm. And I would pack, and that's a lot of people don't understand about manufacturing. It's one packer, and you're packing out for everybody. You're doing, I packed for Costco, Walmart, Target, Trader Joe's, Whole Foods, all the big chains around the country. And you make one formula, and then you're sharing it with all these different companies. And that's kind of what co-packing, manufacturing, private label is. So that's what I did for 20 something years. And then I started Stout, but that was more of we started it mostly because it was more like a healthy journey. It wasn't because we said, hey, we're going to start a supplement company. We started Stout because my wife and I were looking for healthy alternatives, because when you're in the corporate world, you're doing dinners every night. You're having, the best food, but it's also the worst food for your bodies. You're doing, glasses of wine, alcohol, it's stuff that's not healthy and really, really can hurt your body in many ways if you eat out that much, even at fine dining restaurants. So, after 20 something years of doing that 3-4 nights a week, your body takes a toll. So we're looking for healthy options, and even the healthy options out there, we started going to Costco, buying protein powders. I mean, our daughter's a nutritionist, dietitian. She's been in the industry. She has her own gym. We started buying protein powders that she was telling us to buy, MCT oil, so fat burners. We were buying CoQ10, all these different vitamins for us. We were buying, what else? Prebiotic fibers. And I was okay with them, but my wife has a lot of allergic reactions, so she couldn't take any of them. I mean, there were some protein powders I couldn't take because of the different sugars they were using. But then we just, out of a health choice, we said, hey, you know what? Our background's manufacturing. Let's just make our own protein. And it wasn't like, oh, we made it in a week. It was probably, I'm going to say, 11-month journey on finding the right ingredients and creating something that we could take that wasn't going to affect our bodies in a negative way.
So if you said a couple things there in that statement that I think is very interesting. So because you came from manufacturing, you were basically privy to the thing I'm always telling people I find a concern with, and you've just kind of given me some validation, which is a lot of this stuff is just white labeled. It's like and so it's not, you can, from one product to another. And I had said the other day on a show, it's like the cool thing right now is this this mushroom coffee, and everybody, this is Rise, and Rise was very successful. They've been around since 2002, since COVID, and again, maybe 2000. I apologize, 2000, and their numbers are out through the roof. And now you're seeing all these companies pop up that are selling the same sort of product, and it just rinse and repeat. It's like it's like they're coming out of nowhere, and you Google them. It's like founded in January of 2024, but they make all these big claims. It's like, okay, you can't do anything. And the other thing you said was, you going over to the product, you had to spend a significant amount of time going out there and trying things and finding things that you thought was appropriate, as opposed to you just going and grabbing another product off the shelf and white labeling it yourself.
Correct.
Which is good. I mean, I just feel like a lot when I walk into GNC or some of these stores, I feel like I can grab 4 bottles and turn them around, and they're all saying the same thing, just in different order. And
they
it's
are.
like,
and they usually are. Usually when a big chain store like GNC or some of these other chains, when they find a product that's really selling really well, like a family business, or maybe it is a high-end brand, that's what they're going to go to that manufacturer, and that's who they're going to team up with and create one that's exactly the same. So, when I was doing cookies I had the same cookie going into Trader Joe's that was going into Walmart, just different price points.
Okay. So I guess I have to ask. So you're a manufacturer, you have visibility to all these companies. The supplement market is just completely jam-packed with competitors, and our shelves are filled. When you walk into a GNC or a Whole Foods or whatever, it's not 4 feet, it's not 8 feet, it's like 32 feet of product, and they're all fighting for seriously. At Whole Foods, I measured it was 32 feet. It was an entire aisle, top to bottom, not all of protein powders, but all of supplements, right? And what made you decide to enter in an already competitive space that it seems like very difficult to make your brand known or to get any mind share?
Yeah, for us, it wasn't about, because we did it kind of as a side business to help my wife have a protein that she could actually take, myself that we get, and our whole family. That's something that we could take daily. So it wasn't something like, hey, you know what, we're going to take over this market. I think it's a 150 billion market. That wasn't the goal, because we didn't even have money to to invest or to even, because a lot of these stores you have to have, I mean, these are big chains. You have to pay, for instance, GNC wants, I mean, I don't know if I should be saying this. I guess I could. They want $10,000 a product to get on their store shelf. So, I mean, it's not for a company that's, I mean, if you're a mom and pop shop, that's not where you're going to get your product in. And we weren't even focused on that. It was more, hey, you know what? I want to create something that we can enjoy every day on this health journey, you know, to get our bodies back to healthy. Let's try to find something that we enjoy every day, we can make. And then, you know what, if we share it, we share it. And we did. We ended up sharing it with a few stores. We're in quite a few stores right now, but it's more like mom and pop shop. You're not going to find us in the big Whole Foods, which is now, you know, Amazon, or you're not going to find us in Trader Joe's, because they're all private label, or white label. You're going to find us in more like, mom and pop, you know, nutrition shops, little health stores. And we started just with one item, you know, the vanilla protein, because that's kind of where we put like all of our bags all the stuff that our daughter was telling us to take. We put all that in one formula. So you're getting like 15 supplements, and instead of going to, like, when we were at Costco, we were spending $200-300 on all these supplements. And we just said, you know what, we can, you know, we have our background's ingredient sourcing. You know, that's what we did for a living, both of us. So we're like, you know, we can find quality ingredients that we want to take every day, and we'll start it with there. And if stores want it, we'll sell it to them. So we started selling to stores, and we did that one for probably, I want to think about, because we started this business almost 8 years ago. So we did that for about 3 years, selling the vanilla protein. And then after that, we had companies saying, hey, you know what, can you make us more items? And that's kind of where it's taken off. So we kind of made it now it's our full-time job.
Well, that's cool. That's a good place to go. Now, Billy, from a I'm trying to find the right term for you. I want to say, you know, it's like your degree is like, are you a nutritionist? Are you, I mean, functional if you were going into a career, what would you have called yourself? So that way I have a term to use for you.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm not a doctor, but I would call myself like a functional medicine practitioner.
Okay. I can use that. So as a functional, oh my God, I already lost it. A functional
medicine practitioner.
Medical practitioner. The you know, and when you're going out there, and let's say you walked in a place and you hadn't met him there, and you were going down and you're looking at the products, you know, what are you typically looking for on the, I mean, are you reading all the labels? Are you kind of flipping it around and doing it when you're finding the product?
Yeah, absolutely. So what am I looking for when I'm looking for products? It's, you know, it's a combination of what I'm looking for and what I'm looking for to not be in there, right? Like, I'm not looking for fillers. I'm not looking for dead space. You know, I'm looking for as pure of a product that I can find without as much chemical interference as I can find, and, you know, derived from natural sources if I can find that, right? So those are the things that I'm looking for in these products. And typically, for the most part, you know, besides Stout and one or two other brands, I don't really take over-the-counter supplements, because I just don't really feel super comfortable with them. So most of the supplements that I take, you need to have some type of licensure or degree to be able to even register for that company, right? Which then makes it a challenge for the normal person to be able to get those type of supplements. So, you know, fortunate with, you know, Dan and what he's doing is, you know, I actually feel comfortable being able to go to the farmer's market and buy something, which is an amazing, you know, breath of fresh air, as opposed to what I have been doing, where I would have to order all of my stuff from these specific companies.
Okay, well, and that's good. So, Dan, you should look at that as a ringing endorsement, because I've been with him shopping, and I know exactly how he is. And so the fact that he actually said, "Well, this product," and names your product was a big thing, which is why I even decided that I was going to try it. By the way, guys, like I said at the beginning, this is a coffee show. I'm usually sitting here sipping on a cup of coffee while I'm doing it. So this is my first stout shake. And I know it's a weird color, but basically what it is the vanilla stout powder done as prescribed with fresh blueberries. I happened to hit the right time when they had they're unloading organic blueberries at the store in Des Moines, and it was like, yeah, I'm gonna do this. So it's like a cup of organic blueberries, some rhubarb that I pulled out of my garden on the way in and blended it up in there, and the stout shake. So it's going to be my first shot of it. Cheers. Well, here's the thing. My first thing I'll say is it's not gritty. That other shake that I got that I shake up every day and I've been using as a protein shake has a gritty feel on your tongue. So that's great. The second thing is I can barely taste the vanilla. I taste the blueberries, which again, a lot of the other ones, even when you mix something in it, you get that really strange kind of aftertaste. So this is really good. Yeah, I enjoy.
And it's weird too, because when we first started, and we're trying to look to see, where we're going to get when we're coming up with the formula. Every single company out there has gums in their proteins, and the gums change the texture. They change the taste.
I was going to say, I bet you that's what that texture is that I'm getting. Yeah. Because the problem with gums is if it's in there too long, it also feels like you get little gummy rocks, or it gets that can give you that gritty thing. I didn't know that.
And that's the thing where, if it's a private label company, they already have the formulas they've been doing for 10 years, 20 years. And that's what they're going to be making. They're not going to change the formula for every single person that comes in the door, especially if you're small. They're going to keep it, say, hey, here's our protein and it has gums and this is what you're going to get.
Yeah, Discorded Soul. Yeah, this is, I believe this, I got the product right here. We can kind of jump.
Yeah, it's definitely dairy-free.
Yeah, this one is, dairy-free. Like, it has like so many different little things on it, which I guess is good. It's dairy-free, gluten-free, vegan, high protein, no soy, no artificial flavors. I think it says high in fiber. I'm sorry, I didn't put on the right glasses, so I can't read all the little labels. But I mean, when I got this and looked at it, it was like, holy crap. I mean, everything that I'm trying to avoid is not in here. So that was a good thing. And I did have a question. I didn't see, or I didn't have enough time to find it. Yeah. What type of protein is this?
This is a pea protein and rice protein.
Okay. So
it's a combination.
Okay.
So every protein is going to have a different amino acid profile, and Billy could probably go into the science part of it. But proteins, an amino acids are like 20 to 22 amino acids make up a protein, and some foods are not complete protein. But pea protein is a complete protein. It has the complete amino acid profile. Rice is as well. So is like, if you want to talk to about dairy, whey protein is, hemp protein. Hemp protein, what I've learned is that you have to take the amino acid profile is there, but some aminos are really, there's not as many. So you have to take more to make it a complete protein.
So, okay. I mean, that was a good segue. So I think we had a great time to talk about it. And I know Billy knows this whole situation. So I'm diabetic. Handled it for almost 10 years completely by losing weight, controlling everything, dropping soda, cutting most of my alcohol out. And when I say most of it, I still drink socially, which means if we go to a dinner with, Nintendo or, whoever, and they buy a bottle of wine, I will have a glass, right? I don't drink to excess to any degree anymore. And, which is good because now I remember a lot more things. But anyway, I'm sorry, I've got this like gnat that's driving me crazy in here. And we went to Machu Picchu, body completely reset, and all my symptoms came raging back. It was like neuropathy in my feet. I mean, we were up at a high elevation and I thought I had frostbite, blah, 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 blah. So I came home. At the beginning of this show, I went ahead and did an A1C test and I was over 11. So that means for the last 90 days, my blood sugar was in the high 200s, which is shutting down your organs. That's the reason I have neuropathy, everything else. They instantly want you to go back on insulin and all these other things. I'm like, not going to do it, try to do this. So I'm doing this way. proteins, the problem with most of the things that I'm finding out there, and you kind of talked about it with your wife, have a lot of sugar. And there's the proteins, it's like a lot of whey protein, which reading about that whey protein is not the one that is probably best for diabetics. You said pea protein, which I've heard is really good for us. I mean, what kind of protein, what are all the types of protein that you know of? And if you were to say which ones were best for diabetics, now, obviously they all have their pluses and minuses. And then why do supplements have so much sugar in them? Why do these protein powders have so much sugar?
Okay. So protein, well, my favorite protein is plant-based proteins, just because of, they're processed less, I would guess. And then whey is a byproduct of, most of it is mozzarella cheese. I don't know if some manufacturer have changed that. So, and if you're doing whey protein, that's going to increase inflammation. Not only that, you got 70% of the world is lactose.
As Discorded Soul is.
Yeah. So, plant protein for me is your best choice.
Mm-hmm.
Any kind of plant protein, you want to get something maybe with some added fiber or some good fats. Those always help, your protein, because I know when I have protein by itself, without fiber, without fats, I'm hungry in an hour.
Okay.
So I'm talking about protein powders. So protein, for me, plant-based is definitely my favorite choice in that thing. And then in terms of sugar, there's good and bad sugars. So you got organic cane, least processed sugar. Sugar can be used as an energy source. We can look at a piece of fruit, that has a lot of sugar in it, but it also has a lot of fiber, a lot of other natural great things about it. You can look at, and then you got refined sugar. We talked about fillers. That is the cheapest ingredient, refined sugar, processed sugar. That stuff has no nutrition, and they put so much in it, so you're addicted to it. So your body needs it.
Okay.
And I don't know if Billy agrees, or if he has stuff to add, or if he disagrees. Love to hear it.
Would you agree with that, Billy? I almost brought a different brand on. I figure I'm not going to mix brands, but I have another product that my down the road neighbor uses, and he's kind of a bodybuilder guy. And you look in there, and it's like the percentage of sugar in that. Now it's like a GNC bodybuild, this sort of protein, and it was like, wow, it's like I couldn't touch that with a 10-foot pole.
Yeah.
So would you agree that, Billy, that the addiction factor is what's in there? He was saying it was because you need the sugar, the carbs that when you're bodybuilding to help.
Yeah, that part of that is true. Part of you do need the sugar, but that doesn't mean that you should just shove any type of carbohydrate into your body, right? Most of the time when you see sugar on a label, there's no derivative of where it potentially comes from. Like, most of the standard sugar is derived from GMO beets, right? And so you're getting genetically modified organisms, which your body's not going to recognize what that is, for one. And then for two, it's a transformed sugar, so it potentially is not going to get recognized once your body consumes exactly what it is. And then on top of that, if it is a GMO, then you're, risking a large amount of pesticides coming with that as well. So, anytime I take something, I always go by the rule of, is this product adding to my health, right? Or is it taking away from my health? And if I were to be consuming something that is a GMO with added pesticides, it's no different than for me dropping cyanide in my salad, right? Because we're getting the same type of effect on the body. While there might be all this great stuff in there, nothing's going to counteract that cyanide. And so for me, I'm not going after that standard type of sugar specifically for that. If I am going for a sugar, I'll go with, an organic version, something that's as close to as nature intended as possible. And, when you are bodybuilding, and you do have that insulin response, giving your body sugar at the same time is beneficial in a certain window post bodybuilding to get that type of androgenic effects of the body, right? You want to have that type of hormone output, right? And insulin is a big hormone for the body. So, you know, he is right in that. But the problem with what he's doing is he's toxifying himself when he should be elevating himself post workout.
Okay, so he's not crazy. He might be stupid, right? Not crazy for knowing what he was talking about, but stupid for what he's putting in his body.
Is he still your neighbor?
Yeah. Unfortunately, the guy's like 6'2" and like 280 pounds of pure muscle. So hopefully, I'm glad he doesn't know how to operate a computer and watch Twitch right now, because he'd probably be storming down here to kick my backside. But yeah, it's okay. But okay, well that's good to know. Now, the other thing he was a good segue. You know, most people think that supplementation is only for people trying to bulk up and lift weights and do things, especially when you talk about protein powders and things like that. And, you know, what do you say to that? I mean, it's like, yeah, it's hard to break stereotypes, and they're perpetuated, because you walk into a GNC and I'm like, okay, this is what I'm trying to do. By the way, would never walk into a GNC, guys. I so don't believe in them. I go to a health food store, but even there, it's like, so how much are you trying to bulk up is like the question they ask you. And I'm like, I'm not trying to bulk up. I'm just trying to supplement the proteins, because I'm eating fewer meals and I want to make sure I have something steady. So what do you say to that, Dan?
Protein, yes. The stereotype back in the day was that protein was only for bodybuilders. I think that has changed drastically with people being more health conscious. And remember, this is a supplement. So supplements means you're supplementing for something. You know, it's not a piece of real food that you're making in your kitchen. This is something to help you change your lifestyle. So, you know, we live in where our world is chaotic. You know, you got kids, you got work, you got all these different things, and we don't have time to sit in our kitchen and make 3-4 meals a day, you know, to give us the nutrition we need. And not even getting on the nutrition now with the food, you know, that's a whole other subject that we can jump into. But, you know, it's more, these are supplements, so you got to treat them that way. You know, you treat them as like, you know what, hey, I'm going to have this protein shake instead of eating this fast food, processed food. You know, I'm going to give my body something better than that, in terms of, because I don't have time to make me a dinner or a lunch or a breakfast.
Right. Okay. So, but how do you, I guess like the question still is, you know, how do you tell people, so your clients, I mean, you don't want them all to be bodybuilders, otherwise, because otherwise you're going to have very limited.
Yeah. If you don't have enough protein in your diet, you're going to be, you're going to gain weight, because your metabolism is going to slow. You're going to lose muscle mass. So in terms of a healthy alternative, you know, if you're not getting enough protein, yes, you need to enhance your protein. As we age, we're going to need more protein as well. We start losing muscle mass as we age. So we need to find those alternatives to increase our protein, so our body can keep building muscle. Our body can have a faster metabolism. We can lose weight. Protein's a building block for your whole body.
So I do know that one of the things that I'm seeing more of is when you go into a Walmart or you go into certain stores, they break them down, because my daughter's going into nursing, and she was talking about how what I'm doing and what I'm drinking is now getting recommended for people pre-surgery, post-surgery, you know, things like that. And so it's becoming more doctor recommended to find healthier sorts of protein, where they used to just say, go get an Ensure.
Yeah.
Right. You know, and stuff like that. So, I mean, are there any organizations that really promote this sort of, you know, going and trying to find a more natural source, like a vegan source of proteins?
When we first started this, we almost 8 years ago, we were approached by the American Cancer Society, and we had that foundation come to us, and they said, hey, you know what, your protein's really clean. We'd like to, would you want to be a sponsor? And I said, for sure, you know. So we did a lot of events with the American Cancer Society, and ended up, you know, we ended up giving out a lot of product to people going through chemo, and we saw their numbers drop going through chemo. I mean, I even had my mom went through cancer 2 years ago now, and I had her on the protein, you know, and it helped her going through chemo.
Wow.
So that's one organization that we're a part of, but then they changed ownership, and then they teamed up with a water company that wanted no other sponsors, that was paying them millions of dollars. So after that, you know, we I don't know organizations that are promoting, or even hospitals that are promoting protein. I mean, if you get a good doctor, of course, if you can educate yourself or find someone to follow, like a Billy that has that's already has the knowledge that could help you. You know, it's just more about balance and educating yourself, I would say. And
I maybe I misspoke, or I didn't say it correctly. I don't. The hospital, like my daughter's hospital, where she was working as doing her internship there, going into nursing school, they weren't promoting drinking protein. When they were recommending these protein shakes, they were saying, you know, it would be better for you to get a vegan-based a vegan product, as opposed to getting something like Ensure, where 10 years ago, I remember when I had surgery, they kept saying, oh, here's Ensure, which was not non-GMO, which was not vegan, which was not, and I'm wondering if that's because your body processes it easier, and so the recommendation is going more. They didn't, they were. You needed to supplement with protein, and they were saying vegan protein, find a good vegan protein to do it, as opposed to here's this brand.
They are. Doctors have gone to vegan. I mean, I've noticed, I mean, even all the celebrities now are switching over to vegan. And that was when we started this company, there wasn't a lot of vegan companies out there. I mean, now there's vegan companies everywhere, but yes, doctors do tell, I mean, and that's mostly, I think, because of the inflammation that the whey protein does, or the amount of sugars that's in those, drinks, you know, or the chemicals that they have to put in there to stabilize it. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's why I wouldn't make a ready to go drink, you know, that's already in a bottle, just because the amount of stuff you have to put in there to preserve it.
Okay. Now, Billy, is there, as far as you know, is there any way to stabilize a product like this? Like we're going to be traveling, and I would have to say the only thing I find inconvenient about this is having to lug a lot of powder around and trying to find a way to mix it. I cannot shake this stuff to save my life. I have a little bullet blender that I use just because I hate getting a clump of powder when you do it. And that's notoriously why I've never done a lot of the powdered product like this. Is there something that you can use to, so if I mixed a bunch of it up for us to take on the road, that I could keep it stable?
Like keep it mixed, you're saying?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, a lot of the newer shaker cups come with the like steel balls in it.
Yeah. That
actually helps quite a bit. So that's usually what I use when I'm on the road. I'll have a little small shaker cup, and I'll bring it that way. And that's always worked for me, because then, if anything needs to get reshooken, it works well. So that's the best that I've seen so far. I mean, you could go as far as bringing one of those little handheld things that
It's in my bag.
Yeah,
I went and ordered one of those little foamer mixers just because I knew I was going to be taking Dan's product with me on the road, and I got to give it a shot.
Yeah.
So I feel dorky carrying the damn thing, but it was like, I got to do it.
You got to do what you got to do, though.
Okay. Look, Ma, I drank the whole thing. So, okay. I have to say, normally, and if anybody's watched the show, I have a little shake this big, and it takes me the entire show to drink that little one, because I don't enjoy the flavor. I drank this entire thing of this with the blueberry in the mix. That was really good, Dan. Yeah, I know you didn't make the blueberries, but thank you, God. But I will give you the credit for a good tasting powder. So now I wish I had more. It was like a McDonald's shake. And unfortunately, I can say I've had too many of those in my life. All right, so let me ask this. So I'm trying to use supplementation in my program to get extra protein in my body. I mean, I'm going from 3 solid meals a day of beef and chicken and fish in every single meal. I'm a big meat eater and getting lots of protein. Billy has seen me at a table. I mean, I like a good hearty meal, and we have a garden and everything else. And I feel like I get more than enough vitamins and minerals on a daily basis. Now, going to a liquid diet and cutting out what I'm doing, I definitely am feeling like I'm not getting my minerals and my vitamins and everything else. I know you have multiple products. I mean, if you were to suggest like a mix for someone that is trying to, my idea is I want to have 2 solid meals a day and I want this shake to be in the middle to make sure I'm getting everything I need. What's the right amount? I'm not going to the gym. I'm not working out all the time. I do, throw hay for the animals, and I do labor. I'm not always at a computer, but I'm not at the gym. I mean, and I don't want to over bulk up. I don't want to take too much protein. What's the right balance, and what kind of products do you have that I could take to kind of get that whole rounded?
I'm thinking protein for sure. That's the number one you're going to need. I mean, it's going to give you the fiber you need to. I mean, there's 9 grams of fiber in there. That's a lot. That's why it says high fiber when you said high fiber on there. It's got some good fats too. And that's really good if you're trying to, fight these diabetes or these blood sugar, these increased blood sugars for your body. So protein for sure, has some fat, has some fiber. We do have a vitamin mix. Vitamin mix is all your vitamins and minerals. And I think what's great about that vitamin mix, which I don't know if a lot of people talk about it for diabetes, but it has 50 billion probiotics. And probiotics are really helpful for diabetes because they help with the inflammation of the gut. So that would be that we have a vitamin with probiotics. So the probiotics would definitely be a plus for you. And then we have another item which is like a vegan collagen builder, which is called Ageless. And that one has a serving of reds and greens and some minerals, trace minerals in there. It has some, a lot of bamboo extract, horsetail extract, a lot of different plants that would really, really help.
It's it's always interesting to hear what you're getting extracts from. Now, nature's medicine, it's everywhere. If you go,
Yep.
I lived for many years and I go, I haven't gone in probably about 24 months, but I used to spend probably 3 to 6 months a year over in China. I lived there for a couple of years, still have an apartment over there. And, it was crazy the number of things that they would use like bamboo for, things that we don't even consider medicine. And, these people are rarely sick. They're living into their hundreds.
Yes.
They're out there getting every morning and doing Tai Chi. I mean, it was like, and we're not talking like 1 or 2 of them. You're talking, and I saw it in Japan too. It's like in Japan, I'd get up in the morning and I'd go walk in Osaka, and you'd walk into an area and here's like 50 to 100 people, all, 20 years older than I am, all sitting there doing everything. And it's like, you ask them what they're eating. They're eating their normal meals. They're doing everything else, but they seem to really take the natural medicinal things, like kind of really off the wall. But I had a bad belly. Now, if I were here and I had a bad stomach, you'd have Pepto-Bismol, you'd have whatever, all these other things you do. I walked into the pharmacy and it was like, okay, my stomach's really bad, everything else. You know what he handed me?
Ginger.
No, he actually did hand me ginger too. He handed me charcoal, just plain chunks of charcoal. And I'm like, what's this? I mean, I cracked it open. And it was like lumps of coal. And I'm like, what's this? And he's like, take it. And I was like, it's charcoal. It says right on here. No, the 100% ingredient said 100% charcoal. And I'm like, okay. And it was bamboo charcoal. It was burnt bamboo. And I'm like, you got to be shitting me. And he's like, nope, this is what you need to take. So I take it, everything else. 30 minutes later, I was completely fine. I brought like 10 boxes back with me because my daughters used it. Everybody was using it. And it was like charcoal.
Yeah.
And I was talking to an old guy here, and I was telling him about it. He goes, well, when we were kids, that was pretty common. He goes, you would go to the store and buy charcoal. And it was like, well, so why are we selling Pepto-Bismol? Why are we selling all this other crap if I could just get these little packets of pure charcoal and take them and absorb all that bad acid and stuff in your stomach? And then ginger helps settle it afterwards. And he goes like, have you ever had a doctor tell you to drink ginger ale when you're, after you've been sick and things like that? And I'm like, yeah. He goes, and I'm like, oh, yeah. So I guess I do get the ginger thing. They've just mixed it into a soda and add all kinds of crap that makes it more difficult to actually do anything with it.
I've never had charcoal. Have you, Billy?
Yeah, definitely.
I give it to my dogs when they get.
I'm taking it actively right now in a detox program that I'm on.
Okay. Is
And
it like a detox?
Huh?
Is it like a detox?
What, charcoal?
Yeah.
Charcoal's a binder. Yeah, so it's going to bind things in your gut. It'll help remove some chemicals and metals and viruses and bacteria. It really is a positive thing. Like, in Scott's situation where you might have an imbalance of something going on in his gut and stomach. It's just going to go in there and bind stuff, but you do want to take that away from food, because if you're taking it with food, it's going to bind to the food. So there's no point to do that. It's preferable to take that, at least 30 to 45 minutes after food, and then you can take it on an empty stomach as well for ideal help.
Yeah, if you've never taken it before, I would highly recommend it. You go to any store in China or Japan and say you have a bad stomach, and that's going to be the first thing they hand you. And all three of my daughters now swear by it. It was just like, it was the most amazing thing. I haven't found it on the shelf here except for natural health food stores will sell it's activated charcoal.
No, I have it. I have it in our cupboard because I know, because we have, we got grandbabies. So, they drop chocolate all the time, so I do have little dogs. So one time the dog got a little chocolate, so we had to give it some charcoal and it helped.
Yeah. And then ginger, it's amazing. I mean, ginger is amazing for all kinds of things. But of course, when you asked Billy, I was like, in my head, I was going to actually type a little note and chat him and go, 100% he's either using it or he's on it. No, but he's like, yeah, I'm actually using it right now. It's like, of course you are. Yeah. That's awesome. It kind of just, sometimes I worry about, the things I go, like when I go to China, somebody goes, oh, here's beaver penis. And can I say penis on Twitch? Anyway, I'm going to anyway. I'm not trying to make money. Here's beaver penis, and if you take this, you'll never have a heart attack, and this and this and this will happen, and blah blah blah. And it's like, okay, some of it I just understand. It's not real. There's a lot of Asian medicines that are completely placebo effect, but man, they do rock some of them. I mean, some of this stuff, you can't have that many people over the age of 100 not be doing something right, especially when that country is so polluted and there's so much nasty stuff in the air, and they still have good looking skin. They're still living forever. So that balance of eating local, organic, better stuff, and the environmental issues are out there. One seems to fight off the other, which is why, I'm looking at your product, because it's like, there's got to be a better way to do things. I live in Monsanto Central, meaning because Iowa, we have their one of their corporate offices was right here, because all these corn farmers, everything else, you drive down the road and every second cornfield will have a big sign saying it's modified to handle this, right? Mm-hmm. And that's being fed to the cattle and the pigs and everything else that are going, and they're in the Walmart shelf, because people don't realize, not only are we the largest state that grows corn, but it's feed corn, and the other two things is we have cattle and pigs, and all that goes there, and basically you're feeding them modified GMO product and the chemicals they spray around here. is just horrendous, right? Every field. I mean, this morning I had planes flying over there because they were crop dusting the fields.
Wow.
And so I closed down the house and turned off the air conditioning because I didn't want that stuff getting blown into the house for 2 hours. You know,
Yep.
So you can't not be in that environment anymore. So that we have to start finding products like this, or some of these Chinese products, in order to get a little bit healthier.
And that's manufacturing. Back to my manufacturing background, when I would go to these farms, and because I had to buy a lot of grains and different things when I was doing different products, and I'd visit these farms, and I'd be like, okay, there's an organic farm sitting right next to one that they're spraying with the peps, with all the different chemicals. And I'm like, and if the wind blows a little different, those organic farms are still going to be hit.
Yeah.
And if you're that farmer, you want a better yield, So I understand the business part of it, because a lot of the stuff that I would get in from organic farms, did have a lot of issues. There was a lot of stuff eaten, the yield was not there, if you're trying to feed a country like ours, and the way we eat, they made that so the farmers could produce, because if not, we wouldn't have enough food on our shelves. I mean, I'm thinking the other side.
Sure. Well, I don't bitch to my neighbors, but I do know that one of the big complaints around here is all this stuff goes into our groundwater. I have a well and a cistern on my property. I actually just buried my cistern because when we had the water tested, they were saying, and actually I was going to do this on a show. I have the certificate, and they said that water is not consumable by humans unless I go put a filter on it. And I'm like, okay, this is 100-year-old cistern that's supposed to collect the rainwater, and now it is completely useless because the runoff from the fields around me has polluted my cistern. And they said, short of digging it up and redoing it, because now it's saturated into the walls of the cistern, because they're either usually made out of clay, or mine are made out of a very porous granite. They put rocks in there and built like a well. And so we've been drinking that. I mean, we've always used the well and the cistern since we've been up here, but I noticed the girls were getting sick a lot more. So we decided to get the well tested and the cistern tested. The well tested okay, but the cistern was, unconsumable by humans.
Wow.
And it was like, okay, not going to have that mistake happen again. So I had a backhoe come in. We pushed the dirt back in there, filled it with concrete. And now a cistern that was been there for 100 years is gone, no longer usable. That's it. So it's like, and I don't know what to do, because I'm not spraying or doing anything on my property, but you're right. It's like everything rolls, you get rain, it rolls down, it gets into the water table. It gets down to the ground. So if you're on a well and you're in the wrong area, you're going to have a problem there. It's like, I don't know. It's a loop. And I agree. I understand all these farmers. I live and we kind of
and I understand your situation. That's not right. You got 100-year-old well, and then you got to close it up because of what your neighbors are doing, because they need more product. They need a better yield, or they're not going to be in business.
And I need 3 daughters that have uteruses so they can have grandchildren. It's like, it's a weird combination. And I know that seems extreme, but that's what happens. I mean, the number of kids in this area that have physical problems. And after I found that out and what's going on with the water here, and I started looking around at other cities in Iowa that have the same problem, I'm like, there's like a lot of cancer clusters, things like that here, because you're talking 30, 40 years. It wasn't that long ago that DDT and all these other things were being sprayed out here. So the older people have cancer, but it's like, it's almost better. It would almost been better for my daughters to stay in the city back in Texas instead of come out to the country. But we moved to the country so we could live better, right? And then you have that problem. Okay, I want to cover a couple other things before we get too far into the next hour. So, and this is kind of for the both of you guys, but mostly for you, Dan. But I'd like to hear Billy's opinion from the other side. So, when I'm out here looking for good quality products that are not filled with fillers and chemicals and everything else, it feels like the information in the back is misleading. it's like it seems like there's so many things they don't have to say,
Mhm.
right? It's like, okay, they don't say there's fillers in there, but when you start doing more research, you find out that they do have things that, because a lot of them aren't FDA certified, or they don't have to put things that they don't. So I guess the question is, how do you find healthy products when the information can be misleading and they're not necessarily all the products are governed, to the same degree as if I bought processed cheese, from the store?
Yep. I think the best answer is doing exactly what you're doing. You have a good friend is Billy, who's educated in that whole field. You're getting people, which that like me on your show, or Billy's introducing you to other people that have knowledge for 20 20 plus years. Those understanding the label is hard, especially now. You're on TikTok or Instagram, and every single person is now a specialist on what you should take, and why you don't need to take this product, and why you don't need to take this product. But it's finding alternatives without them pushing for money, or for pushing for that brand. It's actually finding quality products. And I think the best thing would just be keep educating yourself. Read labels. I mean, every single person's different too. Everybody's body's going to be is going to be different. In terms of what a person feels their body feels right taking. So you kind of have to learn your body too. I mean, this is more of a question for Billy. He's the expert in this field. How to tell people what to buy, because I know what to buy, but when we were going to Costco, when I was telling you that story earlier, we're buying all these supplements, $300 worth, for my wife and I, and she's having issues with every single one of the products. She can't take any of them, and it's not listed on the label of what's making her break out in rashes.
And that's what concerns me. I mean, it's like I've tried products, and then all of a sudden I get this adverse effect. So then I go on Reddit, or I go someplace else, or go to the actual manufacturer site, and then it'll say, this used for stabilization, or this used for this. And I'm like, it's not on the label. But then, you're like, okay, but the amounts are so small, or whatever it is per serving, that I guess they don't have to do it. So Billy, what do you do when you're going out there to kind of spot these products that look like they're healthy? Because every freaking product has like every one of those stamps nowadays. It's like you look back there, and it looked like a little kid grabbed a little stamp kit and went doot, 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 doot. It's like there's 20 things on there, but it doesn't say why they're on there, and you can't figure out why.
Yeah, I mean, I usually turn to people that I trust with some information, and I try to check my sources as far as supplements go, as far as products that I buy. I'm always trying to make sure that whatever I see out there is true to what it is, right? And for the most part, there's tells of products that will work and not work, and then sometimes it's just trial and error. You've been trying a supplement for a while. You're like, after this time, I feel a little tired on this supplement. Then it's like, okay, well, why don't we switch it up and see what's new? Dan and Vicky, they did quite a bit of trial and error themselves, and found out what works and doesn't work on themselves. And unfortunately, sometimes we have to do that on ourselves as well. Like, how congruent does this supplement feel for me? And you have to be in a position where you're not biased towards coloring or marketing or anything like that. So, you have to, you just tune into your body and see exactly what serves it the best. And, try to get it towards, if you're looking for more energy, and this thing is not giving that to you over the longevity. It's also, man, it's so complicated, but so simple at the same time, because there's so many things that contribute towards health. And, that's why I think the beauty of what we're trying to do here. And, it's cool that, Dan can come on and talk, and other things like that, is we can try to find and wean out these companies that may not be the most congruent, and this might be one of the reasons why. So it's, it's really just trying to use your intuition, your knowledge, your people, to just gather as much information as you can, and then do it like that.
Okay, good. And just so anybody that's watching now or watch later, I'm not here to bash any companies, right? I talked about it in this morning show. My problem is I feel like truth has gone out the door in America, maybe worldwide. This morning I was talking about how I don't trust any of the news sources anymore because they lead their stories off with something so sensational. It's like, oh, today Donald Trump beat Harris, with a stick, and it's like, and then they'll get through the whole story, and everybody's watching, going, oh my God, Donald Trump hit the Democratic candidate with a stick, and then you go through and they get that part out there. People are talking about it. People are cutting it and clipping it and pasting it. And then if you listen to the whole story, they go, stated by such and such, but has not been proven yet. Right. It's like it used to be the legal system would say, there's slander and there's libel. And if you misstate something purposely or whatever, you either have to print a retraction. And when I was a kid, you have people get on the news saying, yesterday we stated this, but we have to retract this. We found out this information. Or you get a thing in the paper that said, yesterday's article made this claim, but now we realize it's true. They can't be sued anymore as long as they put the disclaimer, this is told by something else, or it's an opinion or whatever. But no one hears that. What they do is whatever stated is fact. And I feel like food is the same way. All right. Yep. It's like, and if someone wants to eat a steak that has been, artificially inseminated with, an animal that's 4 times its size, so it grows, and then they feed it all kinds of, filler, so it beefs up and all this other things, and you're comfortable eating it, then God bless you. Go ahead and do it, but go with knowledge. Right. Yeah. And I'm not going to tell you that I'm right and you're wrong. I'm just saying, stop hiding it and allow the consumer to be educated on what they're doing to their body, and the world will be a better place. I mean, and hopefully more. Go ahead.
I think also, that inspired me to talk about, you have to look at, there's buzzwords, as Deli's talking about. There's buzzwords and then there's real words, right? So the buzzwords are all natural, healthy, and they have the colors, and it never actually says what actually the process is, right? You can say healthy, all natural. That doesn't really mean that much. If you say organic and you have the stamp, it has to meet that criteria, right? And you can kind of get around that by, in some regard, a little bit, but there's not that much room, right? If you have, it's grass-fed, or if it's like 100% grass-fed and finished organic, then you're talking about a whole different thing, right? So there's a combination of things that you start to learn in the lingo that is right there, right? Like they can be,
yep.
Right. And it's those tricks that get you. So people always put grass-fed, but as you put it, finished, there are a lot of people that get the grass-fed here in Iowa, that get the grass-fed stamp because they do put their cows out to pasture. But then when they get sold, they're going to a house that's giving them 100% filler.
Yeah, for like a month, right?
Yeah, for the last 2 weeks to 30 days. And they'll put 200 to 500 pounds on that cow a week or for 2 weeks, and they get them all bulked up.
Yeah,
because you have to keep a cow for a long period of time on grass to get that bulk on them, because it's very lean, eating natural grass. But you can get a calf in a couple of weeks, 500 pounds, by feeding them. They feed them sawdust and insulation and all these different products that are mixed with basic proteins. I mean, and guess what? A cow will eat anything if you cover it in molasses. I mean, I've watched farmers take 7-year-old hay that's molded and inject it with molasses, and the cows will eat it like it's candy.
Wow. Yeah.
I mean, I've seen it with my own eyes. I mean, I know farmers that do it because they want to get rid of the stuff.
I read this research probably a couple weeks ago, and it was talking about exactly, because this is Scott, this is your expertise, but it said that when a cow is going through its life, they're giving it vitamins, certain vitamins, so it can stay healthy.
Yep.
And when it has all those vitamins and minerals and stuff, it's eating good, good feed, and it's not looking for all this other stuff. And I heard, and what I was reading is right before they sell it, or right when they sell it and they want to bulk it up, they take away those vitamins, they take away those minerals, and then they're giving it everything, and it's eating everything because it's looking for those vitamins and minerals, and it can't find it.
The bodies crave it. Yeah, that's exactly the process. So what
And
you do is,
and that kind of reminded me like of our own bodies. If we stay healthy and we keep ourselves, with vitamins and minerals, we're not going to be craving all that junk.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So I want to bring up, you have the products behind you. So you talked about you talked about a couple products that you would recommend for me. So I'm going to bring up a photo too, so everybody can see the products that, so this is Stout Nutrition. I've got the stuff here. You didn't mention Total Performance in your thing. You did mention Ageless. I got the vanilla protein. By the way, beautiful packaging. I love the shiny black containers. Hopefully that's recycled material.
It is. It's PET.
Yeah, and I think you mentioned recently that you were, or Bill, the idea is that you're going to look at replacing it with bags as opposed to plastic.
Yes, bags are the, plastic is coming in from, they're coming as like little preforms. I mean, I'm talking manufacturing side right now. So, plastic gets made, and they become little preforms that come over here, they get blown. But it is hard to recycle something like this. I mean, even PET is going to be, I think it said, I can't remember if it's 100 years. It has to be planted in the ground and it gets recycled. I mean, that other plastic doesn't. The other plastic that's not PET, that stuff's not going to be. You can't recycle that.
So okay, tell me the 3 products that you would recommend for me and what's basically in them.
Protein for sure. You got your protein, your good fats, MCT oil, CLA in here. Those are your omegas. And it's got a lot of fiber. It's got some other stuff like CoQ10 for the heart, or vegan BCAAs added. So it does have some great other items. It's got ashwagandha in there too.
Okay.
That helps with inflammation. Total health, vitamin, minerals. I was talking about probiotics, 50 billion probiotics, digestive enzymes in here. That helps with your gut inflammation. And then this one, the Ageless, this is going to be your serving of reds and greens, fruits and veggies. It's got 30 different ingredients in there that help with collagen building. So help with repair of tissues, cells, muscles.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. So I've got the one, I'll get the other 2. And are those products, are they daily products? So like one scoop per day. So that'll be my cocktail.
Yeah, unless I don't know how you're doing on your, I don't know if you're going to, on your journey for your, I don't know if you're doing 1 scoop of protein and then doing 2 meals or 3 meals, or if you're doing more protein.
I think that's one of the things I want to talk about with Billy on the trip. I'm bringing the product with me again, I don't want to put too much protein in my body, because I mean, you want it to be, the thing with anything is you can overdo it and you can underdo it, right? You got to find the right mix for what you're trying to do. I'm not trying to bulk up. I mean, I talked about it on another show, cardio for diabetics is not necessarily the right way to go. You really want to work at least a little bit to get lean muscle. Lean muscle burns sugar. So when you're eating and you can have carbs, your body's going to take it a lot easier than just doing cardio. So I am going to do a little bit of working out, but not much. But I'm not trying to bulk up. What I'm trying to do is, my thought is 2 real meals a day, and then one of my 3 meals a day is a protein shake. And like, if I have all the vitamins and everything else, what I'm not getting in my body from those 2 meals should be completely supplemented by the right combination of the powder and everything else. That's my thought process, at least for now. Tomorrow I'm weighing in. When I weighed in the first time, I was 206 pounds. I believe tomorrow I'm going to find out I lost 10 pounds. I feel, looking at my face and looking at my body, I take off my clothes for you guys, but it's not that kind of show. And all it would do is drive away traffic. It's not like anyway. So looking at myself yesterday, I was like, wow, I can actually see it's doing what doing a liquid diet is supposed to do. It resets it, but you start burning that fat that's been stored that's bad. to kind of get through it. And I feel it. I definitely feel it.
Yeah,
But
I'd like you to test it and see, like, if I did 2 of those a day, you know, and see, even with 2 meals, to see if that even helps.
okay.
You know, I mean, but it's kind of, it's everybody's different. So I know when I take, you know, sometimes I was trying to take like 4 scoops a day along with
Wow.
a meal or 2. And I noticed I was holding on to lean muscle and I was losing weight, the more protein. It just, you know, it's hard to take that much, you know, to remember, or, you know, you get busy, even to do a shake. I know I'm sounding lazy, but, you know, it is.
Well, and if they taste like this, if I can get it, I mean, I would do this with a meal. I mean, this was like literally having a shake. Yeah, I froze the fruit. So
Yeah.
when I put it in there, it was ice cold. And it was, I mean, again, I mean, you saw how fast I drank this thing. It was like, wow, this is pretty good. And I usually am not a fan of taking those, you know, those types of things. So that's really good. So thank you. I do have one last question. And Billy, this is kind of a segue into what you discussed the other day, which is another thing that diabetics miss all the time. And not just diabetics, anybody who is taking almost any sort of medication or has a health issue, hydration is a major part of it. You know, hydrating your body and making sure you have electrolytes and making sure you have all your minerals. Drugs take that stuff out of you, right? A story I think I told on the show with Billy, which was my grandmother, before she passed away, she was on codeine, and she'd take her codeine pills, and she would get bound up and have a problem going to the bathroom, and they would say, "Oh, you're not getting enough water. You're dehydrated because the pills are dehydrating you." Diabetics, you're taking insulin. There's a reason why. So people don't realize you can't mask symptoms, guys. It's like your body is telling you, and this is what Billy said in the last show, your body is telling you what's going on. So how a diabetic typically finds out they're diabetic is all of a sudden the trigger is flipped and you're peeing like you're going out of style. And as soon as you do that, you're drinking 5 bottles of water and you're thirsty constantly. And that's because your system is trying to purge all those things that your organs can't handle, your liver and everything else. They're a filtering system. And when your body is not processing the waste and everything like it's going to, it has to push it another way, which is through your urinary tract. You basically pee everything out and your body's trying to push that excess sugar out and everything else there. You get thirsty. But when everybody goes on their medication, their metformin and their insulin, they don't feel those urges because the medicine's telling them they don't need to, and then they get dehydrated, right? Now, my problem with all these hydration jinks is kind of like those other protein powders, which, I had a whole bunch of them. I left them out over there. That's my bad. Yeah, all these little packets, they all have tons of sugar in them, and they all flavor them. Why? Is because if you don't make your mix right, they taste like crap. So they're all lemon or berry or, and so it's all these. So now they say, oh, this is good for you. Here's what we have. And then they add 15 chemicals in there because they're adding the artificial flavoring and this and that and all this other stuff. So how do you find a good hydration product? I did notice on your site that you now have a hydration product. And then, how do you find a good way to do that? And the bigger question is, what is an electrolyte?
Okay.
And then Billy, I'm going to come to you and kind of let you answer the same question and tell us about your project.
Yep. So electrolytes are minerals.
Mm-hmm.
They are, I'm trying to think the minerals. You got chloride, magnesium, sodium, potassium. And these are all essential for your body to function. I mean, Billy's the genius in this department, so he could probably go into it even further. But for me, I could tell you a quick little story. For me, I didn't bring it over here, but I have a pre-workout that you put on the screen earlier, and it's Total Performance. It's a pre-workout. It's all plants, but I put in there 300 milligrams of caffeine.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah. And so that's like 4 cups of coffee. And
I need that.
Yeah. And I don't anymore. I do like a half a scoop of that plant-based pre-workout that we created. And when I did it back then, I was like, man, this thing gets me I mean, it has so many other aminos and vitamins. This thing got me fired up for like six hours straight when I took a full scoop. So I was doing that, and I was doing coffee in the morning. I was doing coffee at night. I can drink coffee and go right to bed.
That's me too.
So I'm drinking coffee and caffeine all day long. And people don't say that, caffeine dehydrates you.
It does. Yep.
And people don't understand with what they mean by dehydration. It means your body doesn't have those electrolytes to function. So I wasn't feeling that great. So I went to the doctors, and I'm like, something's wrong with me. My body felt like it didn't feel right, and I'm supposed to be healthy. I'm working out every day. And I'm like, okay, I got tested and I have no potassium in my body. And this was like 3 years ago. So I'm like, wow, you know what? Why don't I have potassium in my body? Oh, it's not the 300 milligrams plus the 6 or 7 cups of coffee I'm having during the day, to give me that buzz or that addiction that I created. So I said, you know what? I got to find, so they pumped me with potassium for 6 hours straight. I was on an IV of just potassium. And after that, I'm like, you know what? I got to find a solution for this, because there's so many pre-workouts out there. There's so many people that are going to Starbucks every day and just loading up on, these espressos and extra shots that don't want to give it up. So I found in Utah, they have the Great Salt Lake. And, I sourced so many different ingredients. I found a small company that wait till the lake dries out on certain parts. They get the salt, let it dry, and they find a breakdown of it, which is potassium chloride, sodium, and this is all pure. These are pure electrolytes. And I got some of that. I'm buying it in bulk, so I'm buying, hundreds of pounds of it. And I'm like, okay, this is going to last me, but it changed my life. I can have coffee and my potassium is still way up there. And I think that's where it kind of started for me, my health journey on finding the right electrolytes, and these are pure electrolytes coming straight from sea salt. And I'm having, this is a coffee show. I threw my electrolytes in here, and I got a little olive oil in here too. So I got some good fats, but that's what I'm drinking. I'm drinking coffee, and I threw a bunch of electrolytes in here from the Great Salt Lake. And that's and those are pure. They're not made in a lab. They're not, this is right from Mother Earth,
And again, we go back to some of these other countries. When I was in Peru, they have a place in Peru right underneath Machu Picchu where for the past, I think they said 300 years, the water comes up, fills these areas, and it's got natural salts and minerals there. And and I gave some to Billy. It's 100% naturally harvested Peruvian salt.
Yeah.
Right. And they grade it. So they break it up into categories. This is commercial, like you throw salt in your road. This is mid-grade, and this is high grade for cooking. And then they have some that they crush up that has all the minerals in it. And these people drink it daily in like their teas and their waters. And these people are in 100-degree heat and 100% humidity, and they're never dehydrated.
Yep.
And it's like, because it's constantly in their water. But here we drink so much soda, and I'm that guy. I mean, kid you not, if I flipped over my phone, I have the Starbucks app. I've got like 20,000 points.
Yeah.
I mean, when I lived in a city, I would probably hit Starbucks 4 to 6 times a day. Billy can testify to it. He has seen me do it. I am Starbucks addicted, and all that stuff does is dehydrate you, because your body tells you, oh, you just drank something, but it's not actually replenishing anything.
Yep.
And I joke around about people all the time, because what you said was the point I wanted to kind of get out there, which is drinking water or drinking soda or drinking thing is not hydration. Hydration is replenishing the things that are absent in your body from sweating and doing other things that get rid of them.
And we used to be able to get that too from, produce.
Right. Yeah.
You know, and now the soil, like you talked about your well, you know, the soil is so filled with these chemicals, and they pretty much drained it all from the natural minerals that fruit used to have. You know, the vegetables, fruits are not the same as they used to be.
And the ground, and quite frankly, the ground's played out. It used to be you rotated crops and you didn't grow the quantities that we do. Every time a plant grows, it's pulling those resources out of the ground. It can only do that so many times, before you've depleted it. And then what you have to do is you have to put other artificial things in there so it can keep repeating the process. And so they're no longer natural. It's not even coming from the ground. So Billy, you're a pogo player. I mean, I've traveled with you to multiple countries. We've talked about dehydrating. I think I talked in the other show. My role is, and again, I know I'm not monetizing, is I joke around is I'm Billy's bitch when we go to these shows, which means like I try to carry a ton of water. I try to carry things because it's not just Billy. We have a team that we all go around together, and you can see it. I don't know how Billy does it on a regular basis because we get there first thing in the morning. He's stuck there doing signings. He's walking around. He's running around, and we don't get real meals, and we rarely get to drink. In New York, I read that 8 to 10 people passed out with dehydration or heat stroke, in New York City. So it's crazy. So, I mean, tell us about, your thoughts on being hydrated. Because I know when you're not out in an event, you do your best to stay hydrated and you do those things.
Definitely.
But also that kind of segues into how you started working with Stout.
Yeah. So I was using a company for a while called Pure Encapsulations. And they're actually the supplementation company for the Olympic team. And they do really good stuff. However, it's really hard I can get it, but I can't really recommend it to anybody, right? And so it becomes a little bit of that barrier challenge to be able to get it to people. And they also, they do have some flavorings in there that I'm not quite fond of. And then, we were talking to Dan, he's like, I have this one, which then led us to start talking about some formulas and whatnot. And how do we achieve this pure, ultra pure version of minerals, right? And how do we keep our body hydrated while we're out there, playing? Because like Scott mentioned earlier, when you play, and you're sweating, if you ever lick your sweat, and why dogs lick your sweat and everything like that is because it's salty, right? It's all your electrolytes are getting sweated out while you're doing that, right? So you have to not just drink water, because drinking water would actually dehydrate you in that state. You're getting further dehydrated because you can't get the water into your body. So the electrolytes are vitally important, especially when you're sweating at that type of rate, and especially, in that regard. And to the tip my hat to organic farming methods is, if they follow them as intended, you have to rotate your crops on the fields in order to be considered organic, right? And so I'm sure that some companies get around that, but if you find the smaller companies that are really into the environment, into the world, their goal is to have soil preservation instead of degradation, right? So we don't want the soil to degrade over time. And when you're driving through Iowa and stuff like that, you'll look into this field and it'll just be like this very light brown soil that you don't even know how the corn's even standing up in that thing,
exactly.
right?
No, that's 100%.
The whole field's gonna fall down, I swear. And so that's the main goal is not only just drink really pure water, but also get the electrolytes and the minerals back in your water. And so that's how we kind of got onto this whole journey with Dan. And Dan, being an excellent sourcer of ingredients, was able to find something that is gonna meet our high standards.
So can you tell us what the product is, what the actual thing that you guys develop is? I mean, the name and all that other stuff.
Yeah, sure, totally. So it's called Pure Hydration. So what we're doing is we're basically taking those amazing sea salt minerals from the Great Salt Lakes that are ultra pure, and instead of combining it with a whole bunch of other things and trying to flavor it, we're combining that with coconut water, which coconut water is already a hydrating substance as it is in itself. So you're getting, a little bit of all natural coconut sugar in that water as well, which is, part of the whole process of what that is. And then additionally, we're adding MSM in there to support joint mobility and recovery. And so those are the 3 ingredients that we have in this product. And it's powdered coconut water, we have MSM, and then we have the super high quality salt. And that's going to make up the product that I've honestly, before we even had this conversation, anything even came up here, I've been dreaming about a product like this for so very long, because I go to Whole Foods, like you talk about, Scott. You see those $5 packs where it's a hydration pack. It's like this little straw tube, and I look at it and it's like berry flavor. As soon as I see berry flavored, like I know there's just artificial flavors in it. I don't even have to pick it up. It just reeks of artificial flavors. And for me personally, I think one of my journeys over the last, many, many years of this is trying to break myself to need to feel like I'm constantly satisfied with flavorings. Like, a lot of things that I eat in supplements is pretty bitter, right? And bitters, to where you're going, Scott, is actually extremely healthy for the body, right? It's extremely healthy to normalize our blood sugar, to normalize a whole myriad of different things. And so for me, knowing that part of the science is having that type of mentality that I'm not here to please my superficial taste buds. I'm here to revitalize my body. And that's the mindset that I always keep myself in. I don't care about my taste buds. Like I said earlier, am I adding to my health of my body, or am I just, if we take it back to, the symptoms versus treating the root cause, am I covering a symptom, or am I covering the taste? I want this taste, or do I want the purest form of everything that we have? And so that's where, we've gotten to this current state right now.
So that's awesome. So the name of the product is Pure Hydration. Mm-hmm. And now the thing I like about what you just said, and while you were talking, I was going to go grab one, because in the last show with Billy, I actually told this story. At the last event we were with, I ran to Whole Foods and I bought a ton of these little packets. I mean, I spent way too much money, because they're $5 a packet, because I knew we were going to be in extreme heat, and I wanted to make sure everybody had something to put in the water. Bring them out to we get in the car, we start driving. I go, hey, Billy, look, I got us this power. I got it at Whole Foods. Like, because obviously if it's at Whole Foods, it's got to be perfect. And, Billy looks at it and then takes it, goes like this. And he goes, thank you, I'll pass. And I'm like, and then Alexa looks at it and goes, yeah, I'll pass. And I'm like, okay, wait, 50% of the crew just passed on this stuff, and I just spent all this money on it. And I'm like, what? Wait, why? It was at Whole Foods. It was at the counter. It says healthy. It says natural. It says all the things that Billy said. And then it was like, yeah, there's some things in there that I wouldn't take and everything else. So I waited. I was driving, get out of the car. I look at it. I'm like, oh, shit. There's several things in here that I was like, oh, okay. Mm-hmm. But since then, I've looked at multiple things, and I like it because I don't like those flavors, mm-hmm. right? I mean, usually they don't taste like whatever they say they're going to. Mm-hmm. And when you have a flavor, you can't mix it with certain things. If I get a berry mix inside there, and I want to put it in something other than a bottle of water, and they always say, you go mix it with any drink. It's like, yeah, can't mix this with any drink. But yours, if it has zero flavor in it, it is pure, right? You could mix it with theoretically anything. You just said you put it in your coffee. That's genius. I'd be able to drink it with my coffee again.
Yeah. And to all you coffee drinkers out there, I highly encourage you guys to drink organic coffee, because it is one of the most pesticide sprays things on the market, right? So not only are you taking a diuretic, dehydrating yourself, you're also highly toxifying yourself at the same time. So just choose wisely.
Yeah, well, it's funny. Billy said that last week. He told me 2 things last week that made my heart sink. Number 1, stop microwaving my food. So now I have to start everything 15 minutes earlier so I can get things done. And then 2 was what he just said with coffee. And I was looking forward after this week to start drinking my coffee again, because I'm doing this mushroom coffee mix, and testing it and doing all this other stuff. And I'm like, I'm almost done with my liquid diet. I'm going to be able to try coffee again. I'm going to get it. I have all these coffee beans because I love coffee beans. And I'm like, I went through and started looking at all the labels and I'm like, yeah, none of these are freaking organic.
What about the pods?
What about pot?
Are they not good? The pods?
Oh, the coffee pots?
Yeah.
Like which one?
The pods, like the ones you drop in your.
Yeah.
Oh, coffee pods. I don't know
this
a ton
coffee
about
right now is not organic, and I don't drink organic coffee because I don't ever see organic pods.
I've never seen them either. The only place I've ever seen, I get my beans anyway. I grind everything, but because I think it tastes better.
Yeah, I think to Scott, what Scott's saying, you know, the we talked about this last week. The more convenient things are, usually the more toxicity that comes with that convenience, right?
Yeah.
There's a reason why they're convenient. You know, not only are you potentially getting non-organic coffee out of that, but they're probably heating up that plastic on that pod that potentially could leach into your coffee pot while they're dripping the hot water through that plastic cone thing, right? So I try to stay away, like, you know, as Scott said, as I try to do myself. If I'm going to be drinking tea, I'm just going to go loose tea, and I'm going to have a glass teapot with a stainless steel, you know, thing in there that I can drop it in there, and it's not convenient at all times. But the important thing is that once you get out of the routine of convenience and into the routine of the other thing, you'll just find more efficient ways to do the things, right? And also coffee beans are another thing. When they're ground, that's when all the antioxidants are released. So if it's been ground for a really long time, technically the antioxidants that could be potent and prevalent in those coffee beans are none. They're not there anymore. Similar to as why you would grind pepper in a pepper shaker, right? It tastes so much more potent when you're grinding that, as opposed to having ground pepper for a very long time, because you're actively releasing all that the antioxidants. And so all these convenience things actually turn out to be a lot of dead food for us.
Yeah, with both pepper and the coffee beans, I can testify that for that from a going to my culinary school, which is they never want you to use powdered pepper. You lose all the oils in the kernels, you know, when you're doing that. And with coffee beans and things like that, the reason you put them in there and freeze it, at least freezes the oils in there. When you grind them and do it fresh, you're still getting the oils that are in there, which is all the essential, the reason why you want that stuff. So,
and the other thing that I want to add in here for both of you guys, since you mentioned this, and it's, you know, how I've geared my head around everything is, if somebody's telling me something about how they're reacting to a substance and it's not a normal reaction, that means that there is an imbalance. And since both of you guys say you can go to sleep when you drink coffee, that means that your adrenal glands are absolutely exhausted. Your adrenal glands are so exhausted.
Every show he has to do something that not, you know, it's like, okay, we're on a high.
That normal, because what I think about coffee and caffeine, it's like an exhaust, right? It's an exhaust boost. You're not actually manufacturing energy. You're manufacturing a stress hormone to be able to get energy from. And so if you're not getting any of that exhaust coming out when you're drinking that, then you know your adrenal glands need some help. So
I thought I was special.
Huh?
I thought I was special.
Yeah, I was like, okay, well, thanks for the bad news, Billy. We'll
hey man, we can work on it.
I'll invite you back next week so you can
That's
kick me while I'm down.
We're helping you.
That's So
how do you fix it? How do you fix your glands?
Rest and supplementation for sure.
Like what supplements for glands?
Like usually it's adrenal glandular extracts. Protomorphogens. Yeah, they're called protomorphogens. Or you can do adaptogenics. It just depends how your body's going to react to them. You know, you can take adaptogenic, like licorice root, stuff like that. That can work. But oftentimes when they're too exhausted, your body has to rebuild that tissue, and so that's going to come from glandular extracts called protomorphogens.
Got it.
I got to be really screwed then, because not only can I sleep on coffee, but I only sleep 4 hours a night. So I'm probably
And then also, you know, Scott, there's quite a bit of studies out there that say that the less sleep you get, the more insulin resistant you become.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh man, I don't know if I could sleep more than 4 hours. I mean, I've been doing it for, literally since I was in the military.
Yeah,
I
and I'm
don't
not
think
saying that, maybe for you it's not that, but supporting your body and your adrenal glands and everything else in the process might just be the answer you need because it's your normal, right?
so. So all those pot smokers that sleep 14 hours a day and everything else are doing it right. They'll never have diabetes.
I don't know about that because they're inducing that sleep. So
There
I'm
you
not
go.
sure. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. A couple other things I want to make sure I get to. So both of you guys, question for both of you guys. I need, I love putting sweeteners in certain things, my coffees, my shakes, everything else. Now I don't do the artificial stuff. What would you recommend? You as a person who sources things, Dan, and put a lot of, healthier sweeteners and things into your product, and Billy from just a general standpoint, maybe a diabetic standpoint. Nowadays I see monk fruit and I see this and I see this, and it's like there's so many products on the market. I walked into Whole Foods the other day and it was like probably 15 products on there, that were calling, saying natural sugars, from everything from, just like everywhere. What would you say is the best, most natural, and probably the best for, working with like the fibers and the proteins and the things I'm doing, so I'm not getting blood sugar spikes? I'll start with Billy.
Okay. For me personally, I would go. I don't usually try to overdo sugary things, but if I'm going for a non-calorie sweetener, it would be either monk fruit or organic stevia. Both of them being organic. Those ones have most of the research behind them. There's even some research behind some stevia being able to break down some bacteria that have basically like shells around them and being able to help the body with that. So those are them. Also if you're able to tolerate it, when I think of diabetes and insulin, I think of it more along the lines of very rapid sugars as opposed to slow digesting sugars. So if you combined it a little bit of like, I don't know if you've ever heard of the bulletproof coffee, Scott, where it's MCT oil, it's coffee, and then I think it's butter. It's MCT oil, butter, coffee, and then you can also put like a little bit of maple syrup or a little bit of honey in there. And those natural sugars, while maybe perceived as bad, the honey does a great job at introducing a lot of local allergens to your body in a healthy way, so you're able to deal with those better. And then maple syrup, while it is a sugar, it has a lot of minerals in it as well. If it's a dark colored maple syrup, very dark colored, you want the dark. They changed it. It used to be grade A and grade B, and now it's just dark and light. And so you want to stay away from the light and go for the dark. So having a little bit of that in there, I don't think it would really have a negative effect on your body combined with the fats at the same time.
Okay, that's good. I'll let you answer real quick, Daniel, and I'll talk about that really quick because I have a
nope. I'm on the same boat. All of the products that I do, I use monk fruit and stevia.
Okay, so
organic. I'm using organic monk fruit and organic stevia. They're not going to do anything to your blood sugar, and they're plants, So,
okay.
But you got to be careful of how much you use. I mean, monk fruit is like 200 times more sweet than sugar, so it might even be more than that. So you only need a little bit, But
I don't oversweeten anything anyway. But like,
yeah.
I'm drinking this mushroom coffee and I'm getting through it, but it's got such a bitter taste. I would put just enough to get a hint of something other than that bitter aftertaste.
And you might want to combine them too, because after the testing that I've done, monk fruit is so bitter, the stevia kind of helps it out. And that's why I'm using both. So, I mean, a combination of both is a great alternative but yeah, I mean, stay away from those other ones that are, alcohol made, the erythritol and these other different sugar types, because those are going to be doing, I mean, we don't even know what they're doing to your body.
Right.
Yep. Agreed.
So interestingly enough, around here we have access to, if you were to go into my basement, I probably have right now 8 to 10 quart jars of syrup, and I probably have twice that much of honey. So nice. when you live in an area like this, probably 20 to 30% of all the farmers out here have bees. They help pollinate the grasses and everything else. And so you put them out there, tons of clover, everything else. And everybody, they process the honey. When I say process it, they open the cones, spin it, and then just either hand out or sell the jars. And I've always promoted it with my daughters because it seems like when they use honey in the year, the allergy season isn't that bad because the bees are getting all the pollens that affect your allergies from that area.
Wow.
So everybody here, the years that my daughters don't eat the local honey, their allergies are always significantly worse than the years that we do. But additionally, we're here and going north, we're filled with maple trees, and people like tapping their maple trees and processing honey. And every year people give me jars of that. And we've never had an artificial syrup in our house for years because we get the stuff. I never thought about using it as a sweetener. I mean, that's actually an interesting idea. So especially since I wouldn't have to go to the store and buy it.
Yeah, and it's expensive at the store for the really rich, dark flavored maple, right? Like that.
Yeah, this looks like dark roasted coffee.
Yeah,
it's I mean, you can't see through the jar.
Yeah, I mean, you can use also blackstrap molasses, but man, that stuff is thick, and it is not like the most appetizing sweetener. I've taken some things pretty extreme, but that one kind of breaches the boundary of like, this doesn't quite work. I know it's really good for us and it's functional, has so many minerals, but man, it's just like, it's a tough one.
Yeah, that's a tough one. So, okay, we're coming to the end of the show. Dan, first of all, before we go too much further, I want to give you a second. Go ahead and tell us what your website is and where they can get this product and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Yep, it's Stout, STOUT, like the beer, stoutnutrition.com.
Stoutnutrition.com. Okay. And as far as the products, you have an array of products. You mentioned, we talked about 3 or 4. So what types of products do you have on there? You have your protein powders. So if you can just kind of run through all the
we got you got the vanilla protein, which we talked about. That was the first one. We have a cacao protein, which is a dark organic cacao that we're using. That's full of antioxidants. Cacao it's the cocoa bean, but they don't heat process. It's like a cold process, so you get to keep all those antioxidants. And that one doesn't have CoQ10, but it has the rest of the stuff, the MCT, CLA, but it has turmeric in there with some black pepper to activate it. So that's a really good, another protein source. Turmeric's great for inflammation as well. That's great for diabetics. We talked about the vegan collagen, which is the ageless. We talked about the total health, which is your probiotics, all your vitamins, digestive enzymes. We have an item that Billy and I are working on to do packets with. That is the total hydration. We have what other ones? We have the total performance, which is like a pre-workout. If you're going to use that one, I suggest using just a quarter of a scoop, just because of the amount of caffeine, and it works. We have another one you talked about, Rise. We have a mushroom one as well. We're getting our mushrooms out of a place in San Diego in California, which is an organic farm. And that's where, we talked about where people are getting their, all these, you talked about earlier, where all these people are getting all their mushrooms. That is one of the big suppliers of the United States, is where we're pulling our mushrooms from. So yes, we all are using the same mushroom base, but we added like maca, glutathione, vitamin C, B6, B12, and B12. That's a great vitamin too for diabetics. We have so many other amino acids and other things in that mushroom. So it's not just it's got vegan BCAAs, MCT oil. It's not just mushrooms. We try to put like 15 to 30 supplements in each one of our items.
Very cool. Well, thank you very much. You can stay with us and until the end, but I appreciate you coming on. Would you be willing to come and do a follow-up if I go ahead and do the next 2 or 3 weeks and bring you on, and we'll tell you about me playing with the formulas and I'll let you know.
Yeah, I would love
how we're doing. If you'd like a live critique.
Yeah, I would love to. I was wondering, do you have like, are you testing your blood sugar with those patches and stuff?
I am.
I would love to see do like a live test, like where you fast and then take the protein to see, if it's going to spike it, of course, but I was wondering like if it's a low spike or not.
Sure, I'd be happy to do that. Yeah, I just did 90 days. My plan is currently 90 days. I did an A1C live on the air. And people didn't know, most people don't know this, but they have kits now that for people that live in rural areas that you can do your A1C test here and send the information to your doctor via the internet. Okay. So I sat here live, did a test, got my A1C live on the air. And then the goal was to do this week, and on this weekend, on Sunday, on air, I'll be testing my blood for the first time live, because my numbers are going to be, because until you get all that stuff out of your system, your numbers are going to be relatively high. After a week of doing a liquid diet, 0 sugar, basically beef broth and everything else, and just doing this, what I should see is from mid 200s down to a lower level. And then now picking up my diet with Billy and you on this, the goal is to maintain it for 90 days. My next A1C, because that records 90 days of your body, should be able to come up, and I should be able to see the progress that I've been made by going ahead and going out there. And hopefully I can get it, I don't think I'm going to get it to, a pre-diabetic level, but I want to get it to the lowest number. It'd be great to get it to a 7 or 8, which is in a decent realm for a diabetic. And then hopefully with a couple more changes, I can get it to back into the 6, 7 range, which is where it's been for the last 10 years.
Wow.
With diet.
Yes.
And if I can't, then we have to start talking about other things to do. But I'm a firm believer that it's all the crap in managing what you're doing that causes this and puts you up at that level. So I believe I'll know tomorrow when I do it on air. I believe I've lost about 10 pounds in 9 days as part of this. And I feel pretty good. And I don't feel like I'm starving myself. This isn't a diet, But the main thing was to purge everything that was just sitting in my intestines and everything else by doing the liquid diet and getting that stuff processed so I could start clean. But I'd love to do it, and I would do it on air with you and and then do that over a time period.
Great.
Okay. So Billy,
yep.
2 things here. Let's kind of hear some of these announcements. So you kind of gave us one with the first announcement was the product. What's the release date of the product of Pure?
The release date is, I'm not sure the exact release date, but it's in October.
Okay. You're going to be releasing in October. That's great. Now, we talked a little bit earlier, and it sounds like, and Dan was nice enough to, I guess I'll hold that part of the announcement till later. So what's the second announcement? We have some pretty cool, exciting news.
Yeah. The second announcement is that we are going to be heading we'll be in Florida end of this week, and then early next week. And then we're actually going to be going to Worlds. So Scott and I are going to be heading to Hawaii. And from Hawaii, we're going to be doing some fun streams and stuff like that, with intentions to doing some awesome giveaways. That's really exciting.
Yeah. So kind of to supplement that. So, Billy has 2 new channels out now. He's got his outdoor channel, which is why we're actually heading to Florida initially. We'll be taking a Jeep Rubicon X completely stock. And we'll be hitting multiple vendors that Billy has been interviewing and everything else. The first thing we're going to be putting on is an AccuAir air suspension system, a $10,000 suspension system, which instead of having a stock system, so you pick your size, a 2-inch lift, a 3-inch lift, a 4-inch lift, and having it left like that, this has been approved by Jeep and Mopar, and also just beat the Moab trails. It's an air suspension system that will allow you to go from 0, so stock, up to 4 inches at any given time. And they were able to take that with 40-inch tires and complete the highest level of Moab with the vehicle. And
which is a super gnarly trail.
And so Jeep, after that, made it's the first air suspension system for 4-wheel drives. And so we're getting that installed in there. We're working with Yankum Ropes, working with a couple different companies. And by the end of the season, we'll have a fully tricked out Jeep which part of the outdoor project with Billy, he'll be filming and we'll be going out there and hitting some of these trails and doing some of these projects in, all these outdoor things. And Billy, you're going to be heading to Colorado and going to a big event.
Yep. And then after Hawaii I thought I was going to fly out on Thursday, but flying from Wednesday to Colorado so that I don't land at midnight and have an event the next day. We're going to be landing in Colorado, going out to Loveland, and that's going to be the third Overland Expo of the year. So first one was Flagstaff, second one was Redmond, Oregon. Now we're going to the mountain one, which is going to be that weekend. And then to round it up, if all things go as planned, we'll be at the final one, the grand finale in Virginia.
Yeah, that's awesome. And so that's the reason we're going down to Florida. But then we got the invite to Honolulu for Billy to do interviews and things like that. So we thought, let's have some fun with you guys. So one of the things that you can only get in Honolulu, here you go, is they have an exclusive set of the small plushies. Now, if you are a Pokemon fanatic like I am, I'm not a good Pokemon player. I suck at Pokemon Go. I just kind of hang around with Billy and let him catch the stuff, and I live vicariously through him. But I've been blessed to be able to go to a lot of the countries and go to Japan and go to the Pokemon stores. Our office is in Singapore, so we've been to the Singapore Pokemon store. I went to all the Pokemon stores in Japan, and they have these little characters for each store you go to that's like one time, you have to, if you get it, then you're lucky and you put it in your collection. But at the Worlds this year, they have 3 for the Hawaiian Worlds. Mm-hmm. And you can only get them exclusively at the store, and you have to have an appointment to get in the store. Mm-hmm. It's not crazy, right, Billy? It's crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Additionally, these skateboards there's a bunch of skateboards that they do. There is a Hawaiian skateboard, but those are very limited. So what we thought we would do is we would have a contest with you guys, and we would give away up to 20 of these plushies. And if we hit certain numbers, we will give away up to 3 of these skateboards at basically $300 a board, all custom boards. And we're going to have some fun kind of doing that. But additionally, what is the World's all about? They do have Pokemon Go tournament there. They have a Pokemon Unite tournament, but it's all about the card game, And neither Billy nor I know how to play the game. Isn't that correct?
Correct.
But we're going. I'm going to film Billy, and Billy's going there to interview these people, and we have very little knowledge of the game. And so we thought it would be fun to learn the game. We're landing in Florida. We got a day off. We have to drive the Jeep from Florida all the way up to Tennessee and drop it off for another install. And in Tennessee, Nashville, we're jumping on a plane the very next morning and flying to Hawaii. So we have about 5 days before we get on the plane to Hawaii, and we do it. So for the next 5 days, starting on Saturday, we'll set a schedule. Every day we will live stream. And what we're going to do is we're going to find a card store, a hobby store. We're going to go in and buy packs. We are going to tear them open live on air, and we're going to build decks. Now, we'll come up with bets, but what we'll do is then we'll sit down and we will play against each other. We'll play a match with our deck. The winner at the next stop gets to take his packs and supplement his deck. The loser is going to give his deck away to the people as a contest. So we will go out there. If you guys are watching, anybody that's watching will be in the contest, and we will draw one name at random, and you will get that deck. Any hollows, anything that's in that deck, even if it's a $10,000 card, you get. So you guys get that deck. And each day, so we'll be 1 day in Orlando, then we'll be another day at a different store, or another place in Florida, then we'll be in Georgia, then we'll be in Tennessee. So each day we're going to do it. Hopefully we're going to improve. And then our hope is we're going to do a live game with some world-class coaches in Hawaii. We're going to try to find 2 of the coaches that have been knocked out, 2 of the players, and have them act as our coaches. I suggested to Billy, and you tell me if this is insane, that the Hawaiian match, what should happen is loser has to shave his head. he hasn't agreed to that yet, which is fine. But we want to go ahead and build this up, and we want that show to be a big show. And it's kind of fun to admit sometimes that you don't know how to do something. To everybody everybody wants to pretend they're an expert. I have collected the cards briefly. When I was a kid, I had a whole collection. They got tossed away. And I love Pokemon. I love Pokemon Go. I've had all the Nintendo games and everything else. Billy has been the same. And obviously, being a Pokemon Go creator, he is definitely into the meta and everything else. But I've never touched the card game. I've never had an interest. But I feel like we would be doing everybody a disservice by going to Hawaii and not having learned the game before we got there. Right? So not only will we be giving the cards away, but if we hit certain things like in the first, like let's say the first stream, and we'll let you know ahead of time, we say Saturday, 7 p.m. from Florida, here's what we're going to do. We'll give away the deck. And if we hit our number, so we say, if we can get 25 people on the stream, then we will add one plushie that will give away that thing. So the number of plushies we give away is going to be strictly determined by the number of people that watch. Because if you guys aren't interested, then, I don't want to be giving away things and buying things just because, right? But I think that we can have fun with this and do this. So spread the word. Anybody that likes Pokemon, whether you like plushies or cards, should watch and kind of do that stuff. Does that work for you, Billy?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Can I get you to commit to shave your head if you lose?
Yeah.
Oh, no way. Yeah. You heard it. He just said it, guys. He just actually said he would shave his head. I don't believe that, but okay. You know why? It's because he feels like he's gonna win. But that's awesome.
Is he shaving his beard too?
No, I think we should have to keep the beards. I think it's just we shave off our hair, maybe our eyebrows, and then you just leave the beard. Right? That would be classic. It would be something I think people would watch because look at those curls. I mean, he's got the whole man bun thing going. Yeah. No one's seen my hair because I always wear a hat. So people think I'm bald anyway. But that's not the case. Hey, the last thing I want to go over, which this is something with Dan. So, Billy, you're still in testing the product, right? Mm-hmm. And Dan has been nice enough to mix us up a pound of this rare, pure electrolyte. And we will be taking it to Hawaii. And anybody that wants to try it, there's not an official tasting or anything like that. We will give you a sample, and we'd love to hear what you think. So thank you, Dan, for allowing us to get a hold of the product before it gets released. And, Billy, I know you're very excited. You kind of
super excited.
Yeah. Worked with Dan on this formula. I'm interested in trying it with some of the tropical fruit juices they have in Hawaii. I have a friend that told me if you're looking for all natural juices and things like that, go in there. And then coconut water. There's coconut water everywhere there. Getting the coconuts popped up. I'm looking forward to experimenting with it to see what it's gonna taste like.
Yeah.
So that's another scoop, guys. No pun intended.
Yeah.
Powder. Get it?
Next time I'll bring samples to Hawaii.
Pardon me?
Next time I'll bring the samples.
That's what we should have said. You should have said, I'll give you the samples, but you have to fly me there. It's top secret. Would it come with a briefcase with his, with handcuffs on it? The biggest thing is, it is kind of funny. And Dan made a comment. It's like when you look at what's packed there, he's like, I hope you don't get stopped at the airport. Yeah. Because it does. It looks like I'm carrying a bag of cocaine, but I'm taking. And here's the big thing: is I'm taking it through Florida, so it's it's like I'm gonna have the DEA chasing me down. Going, what is this? What is this? So that's why it's gonna go in Billy's bag. We're gonna put it in his pants. So
you might want to bring some extra bags in case they make you open it up.
So what's that? What?
You might want to just bring some extra bags in case they make you open it up.
Okay.
Just to seal it back because you don't want that. You don't want that. Open it up and then
Sure. That's a good idea. So I'll get like a 1 quart Ziploc bag or something.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, good to know. All right. Well, that's the end of the show. It's 9:00. Thank you guys for joining. I really appreciate you being here. We have Dan, the CEO of Stout Nutrition. You got Billy, the Trainer Club. He is Pokemon Go fame and soon to be the Pokemon card game champion. That's heading out to Hawaii. And you have Scott Bubba, Bubba I can't even say my name anymore. Bubba Da Vinci, which I'll be the bald guy carrying the camera at some place in Hawaii. I hope you guys tune in. We'll post the information both on Billy's site and my site. Not that anybody follows my site, but we'll post it multiple places so you guys will figure out the schedule for the cards. I hope you find this fun because I think it should be interesting. One of the things that was recommended to us is we get a battle kit to start off on the first day. And the store owned manager that told me to do that said, we usually only sell those from 4-year-olds to 8-year-olds, but it'll probably work for you guys. And I'm like, okay, well, there you go. That's about the age of the mental state that we're in, so that's okay. So, all right, guys, thank you guys all very much. Everybody take care. Peace. And we'll all see you guys soon.
Take care, everyone.
Bye.